Ever tried to sit in silence and your mind will not shut up? It's not just you, and it's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. I've really had this message kind of come to me lately where I have been sitting in meditation and sitting in silence, and mental chatter will kind of come into my mind. Stories, the ego, past traumas, the future, even, what have you, has kind of come into my mind. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because all day we have mental chatter kind of going on, especially when we are on our spiritual path and we are trying to let go of the old parts of us. And the mind truly wants to hang on to the old parts of ourself. It really wants to elaborate on the stories more, hold on to those good times, hold on to the bad times, and really keep you in the ego for as long as possible, because that's the way it survives, right? And to know that we are not our mind. And so when we sit there in silence and we have absolutely no distractions going on, we have that mental chatter kind of come in almost instantly, it feels like. And it's hard when we first begin meditating because we're like, why is this so strong? And even when we get advanced at meditating, like for me, for example, I will still from time to time have that mental chatter kind of come in and really try to take over the space that's silence, take over the space of where I'm trying to receive my downloads, where I'm trying to figure out things, where I'm just trying to be my authentic self and to just sit there in pure presence. And what it is while that's kind of coming in, it's almost a way for us to detox, because it's like, hey, I want to come in, I want to get this all figured out. I want this all to be organized. The mind's like, we got to organize it, almost thinking of it like a filing cabinet system. We got to get all these thoughts. And, you were thinking about this earlier, and, you have to kind of do that later. And, we're really bringing up a lot of also, you know, unprocessed emotions, thoughts, energy, like, wow, that person earlier was really off to me. I wonder why they were like that. Or, I'm trying to figure out a solution to this. I don't understand how, I can't manifest this into my life. Or why did the energy kind of seem off into the room? And we have to take that as truly just our way of really detoxing. It's not a failure. You're not failing at meditation because you can't silence the mind the first 100 times you meditate. It really takes dedication and practice to really silence the mind, process everything, kind of figure out our energies, figure out our emotions, and kind of go from there. And I really disliked when I first woke up on my spiritual journey that people were like, yeah, I mean, if you can't manage being in a meditative state most of the time, you're failing on your spiritual journey. You're not truly spiritual if you can't quiet the mind. Sure, in a sense, that can kind of be true, but also you were once in this spot too. And so it always really bothered me and irked me. So I was like, no, we need to address this. And I want to let people know that it is okay that we're having a lot of this kind of come up. It's actually a rather good thing that a lot of these things are kind of coming in the mind. That way we can start tackling it one by one thought after another, right? We can even tackle it one thought at a time. And it's okay that a thought kind of comes into your mind. And it's okay that you accidentally followed that thought form. You can always come back, and you're going to come back to breath, and you're going to come back to yourself, but you have to remind yourself to come back. And that can be really difficult as well. And especially like when, you have to meditate first thing in the morning or at nighttime, those thought processes are like crazy, right? Because you want to go back to sleep, and you're kind of fighting that, and you're kind of like, ah, and I don't know if that's your story, but that was with me. Okay. And I just want you to know that it's going to happen on your journey. And we need to realize that that is just part of life. That is part of sitting in stillness. Even that's sometimes part of trying to live in the present moment and come back to ourselves and come back to who we truly are as human beings, as our true authentic selves. And for so long, I've lived in a state of fight or flight mode, right? Where my nervous system and my cortisol levels were out of control. So me sitting in silence almost felt like a danger zone. And I felt like I was in survival mode all the time. So for me to sit there like that almost felt dangerous to me. And I had to retrain my body over time to really come back to itself, come back to who I am. And I think a really good way before we try to sit in full silence and meditation is to listen to guided meditations. People like Jason Stevenson, for example, okay, where we can kind of listen to it and it's like, okay, I just have to focus on this person's voice, and I have to focus on this like breathing, and I can do that. If I can like start just instead of following my thought forms, I can listen to this person talk, or this person telling me how to breathe in a session. And I think that that's really powerful and a wonderful place to start. You can also listen to meditative music as well, and that would really help kind of bring you more back to the present moment and be able to kind of sit with yourself more. Because, I've been talking a lot about living in the heart space, meditating in the heart space, and being in the present moment. But truly, that comes with a lot of practice. That comes with being able to sit in silence with yourself without any distractions, to have a thought form come up and to be able to move past that, right? For it to move past your brain and to be able to really sit in your own energetic field and bubble and not have a lot of that mind chatter kind of going on, or uh, feeling this overwhelm, feeling the way that we were in the survival mode in the past. And like I said, it's really great not to fight it. If the thought comes up, it comes up. We breathe, we come back to breath, and we let it go out. Okay. Imagine that and you can imagine it a few different ways. If you're somebody who has really good imagery in your mind, you can imagine that the thought kind of comes in and then walks through a doorway, for example, and exits out. A lot of times I would imagine it kind of going through the side of my head, sitting there, and exiting out the right side of my head. Whatever kind of works for you, that's a way you can imagine that the thought form leaves your body. And like I said, breath is extremely powerful as well. And so what I want to note as well is that there are other ways to get ready to meditate and to be in silence. For me, I love being out in nature. Honestly, the moment that I step out in nature and I take off my shoes and I'm barefoot on the earth, my mental chatter will, especially in the beginning, shut down immediately. Well, and even now it shuts down, okay? And I'm able to really just be there and just be present. So maybe that's something like you. So where you can just go barefoot in nature. You can sit by water. Water is extremely powerful and extremely healing. And you can sit by water and have the waters go over your feet, or just sit there and look out over the water and or watch the sunrise or the sunset, and you would realize that in these little moments, you can sit there in silence. Another great technique that I have used in my past is, people think when you meditate, you have to sit in the meditation pose, the yogi pose. You have to be, like this, and doing that. Yeah, those are techniques to meditate, but that's not the case always. You could actually be meditating. One of the best meditations that I will ever do is like washing dishes, because what it is like your body is doing something and your mind can go completely silent. And you can just be in that space right then and now, just washing the dishes. Cooking yourself a meal is another really great meditative practice of sitting in stillness and silence. Because all you have to do is concentrate on cooking the food. Especially if it's a recipe that you already kind of know and you know how to do it. Journaling's another great one where you can just let it all come out onto the page. And when you actually let it all come out onto the page, you can then go and sit in a meditative space to where everything's kind of clear for you. And those are really great things to use. I like to, when I begin to meditate too, I like to breathe in and let it all out with a sigh. And I actually do that a few times because I feel like it releases a lot of tension that's built up in the body. Because the tension a lot of times has thoughts that are like, that you have experienced throughout your day, especially if you're somebody who deals with stress and anxiety like I used to. So, you had those. And so when you sit in silence, finally your body kind of wants to start releasing and talking to you. And so that's a great way to release and let it all go. Let it release from your body. So, I gave you some really great practices today of how you can continue to sit in silence and really begin to incorporate that more into your life. Because when we incorporate silence into our life and we incorporate sitting in stillness and in deepness of who we truly are within the heart space and within the present moment, we can begin to cultivate a reality that truly is meant for us, the path that we're truly meant to live, and the purpose that we're meant to bring into this life. So if you found this video to be helpful, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.